Yes, beautiful people. It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Let's talk about it. And this week we gotta talk about autocratic leadership and as the way that leaders can grasp for power when they start to feel it slipping. And is that you, or is that going to be somebody around you? It's likely to come up this week and in the coming season. We're in eclipse season now. So we are coming into we're going to have a full moon in Virgo this week, but this full moon in Virgo is close to the nodes. This is going to be close to the south node. And whenever we have a lunation, a full moon or a new moon, and it's close to the nodes like this, then it is going to be an eclipse. So eclipses are moments of shadow and darkness. It's a moment when there's such perfect alignment that, like in this case, the moon and the sun are going to be on opposite sides of the earth, and the earth is going to cast a shadow on the moon. And so that means that the moon, whose job it is to shine brightly during the full moon, is going to have a shadow cast across it. So whenever we think about luminaries, we can think about like the king or queen. We can think about the sovereign one, the one who's in power and shining light, right? And then that light is eclipsed and becomes a shadow. And then that power that is the life-giving power of light then goes away. And there's a question about like, ooh, what do we do in that moment? So that can be a moment of tension or uncertainty, and there can be some kind of fear around what's going on with that. And so especially leaders who are in charge of things are especially poised in those moments to fall from grace or fall from power in some kind of way, to run into trouble and to get into a place where things are not going the way that they would want it to go, especially since we can also notice that, so this is going to be the moon in Virgo opposite to the sun in Pisces, right? The sun in Pisces is right there conjunct Saturn at the same moment. So this is also the moon opposite to Saturn. So sun conjunct Saturn is going to be a situation where the sun and Saturn are naturally opposed. The sun's job is to shine brightly out into the world. Saturn is dark and dusky and moves super slowly. Saturn is associated with death and difficulty and challenge and this kind of thing, where the sun is typically associated with like youth and vitality and the kingship and this kind of thing, right? The sun's association with kingship is sometimes opposed with Saturn's association with managers or overseers or something like this, right? So there's a tension around that kind of power relationship. And so the sun conjunct Saturn, and we can remember that the sun has not been feeling very well for a while. This happens every winter. After we get the sun in, Sagittarius, then after that is Capricorn, and then Aquarius, and then Pisces. And the sun is like fine in those places, but like it's not the kind of like robust solar authority that the sun really likes to have. And we don't get that kind of thing until Aries, which is when the sun moves into its exaltation, right? So the sun is already in this kind of weak state which is like what wintertime is, right? Like there's less sun and daytime in the wintertime than in the summertime, or beginning in spring, there starts to be more sun, more light than dark, right? And so the sun is already like kind of uncomfortable with that. And then right there with Saturn, Saturn's job is to impede or create obstacles, create difficulty. So the sun's ability to reign or to do the solar authority, like we're going to do what I said just because I said it, that kind of thing. There is trouble in that situation. And so there can be a little bit of the sun just doesn't feel powerful in that place, doesn't feel like it can do the kinds of things that it wants to do. And so there's likely, especially paired with an eclipse, I would guess that there's gonna be a certain sense of like leaders who feel like they are not in control anymore, grasping for control and watching it slip away. And then so I would expect a lot of posturing, a lot of really loud, boisterous, like, I'm the guy, like, pay attention to me. We have to do what I said just because I said so, and then like pushing people around it, And I would expect bark to be louder than bite. in this moment, especially since if we associate bark with Mercury, Mercury is going to be the chatty one, and then bite with Mars, then Mars is currently in Cancer, still basically stationary, moving forward now, and that's great. Love to see it. Love to see Mars moving forward again, but like moving forward at a rate that isn't super effective for the Mars things. Even still, we're still not too effective Mars and won't be for another couple of weeks. In Cancer, in a place where Mars is not super comfortable and feeling super sensitive about stuff and not super effective in the way that you want your Mars to be, right? So the bite isn't really happening that much. And then Mercury, the chatty one, the communicator, the translator, all that sort of stuff, that see that right there? So Mercury is headed toward a retrograde in Aries, which is interesting because Venus is also in that same spot, already retrograde in early Aries. And so we're going to see Mercury stationing retrograde, I think on Friday. Basically stationary all week, like the Mercury's not doing anything except turning around this week. In Aries, in the space that is ruled by Mars. And so feeling super sensitive and feeling really loud. Anytime we see a station, then the station is going to be like an intensification of that planet, whatever that planet likes to do. There's going to be an intense situation around what that is. And so a couple of weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago already, that Venus stationed retrograde there in Aries. And there is, we would expect to see an intensification around relational themes in that sort of situation, and around the sort of like, what do I want? What feels good? I'm not sure if this, especially if we're in Aries, this Mars sign, like, is this a fight that's worth having? Does it matter for me to continue to engage in this relationship because it doesn't feel as good as I wanted it to feel? It doesn't feel as good as I had hoped it would feel, as it used to feel, these kinds of things. And so there's major reevaluation. All of our words like to show up with retrograde stuff, right? Reevaluation around relationship stuff. This week, we would also expect to see major reevaluation and revision and review and all the rest of that around the ways that communication takes place. So in the event that you are the leader of whatever organization you run or head up, or whatever team you have, or this kind of thing, then it's likely that the way that you have been communicating to your team has been ineffective. I would guess that there's likely a situation where you've been saying your piece, and then either it's been falling by the wayside, it's been misinterpreted or misunderstood. It hasn't, if you're giving instructions, then either instructions are not being followed, or they're being followed in a way that, one time my brother was telling his toddler son how to eat the orange, and he was like, don't worry about the juice, just squeeze it into your mouth, or squeeze it in your mouth. And so he started squeezing the orange slice into his mouth this way. And what my brother was trying to say was put it in your mouth, chomp it, and the juice will come out. But he communicated that in such a way that Lil Mans was doing the most difficult thing possible, right? And he was simply following instructions. So it's likely that kind of thing is taking place here. And, that's a super benevolent example, but we can expect that there's a lot of this going on, and a bunch of it is going to feel super gear grindy. A bunch of it is going to feel like it wants to turn into war or combat or conflict in some kind of major and sensitive kind of way. And this is the kind of thing that deposes authority. And so if that is what's going on, and you are in a leadership position where you might in fact be deposed, then you can double down. But doubling down doesn't look like a good look this week. It looks like flexibility, review, revision, and reevaluation. Is this really what I'm trying to say? Is going to be a real big deal this week. I forgot to plug my shit. Please go to zambonifunk.com. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate y'all. Check out on the flip side.